Today's sew-along is for another free pattern from Tiana's Closet. This is the Camille Shift Dress. This pattern features front darts, a back invisible zipper, set-in sleeves, and this is totally optional, but you could also sew blind hems. The blind hem stitch is an alternative to the standard fold and sew hems for the bottom of the dress as well as the bottom of the sleeves. I'll demonstrate the blind hem stitch in this video, but for a little deeper instruction on this technique, check out this video here. For the neckline, there is a facing, and I'll also be demonstrating how I enclose the invisible zipper inside the back neckline for a nice and professional finish. I hope you join me today in sewing this classic shift dress. Let's get started. Here is the wrong side of my front dress piece, and I've transferred the darts from the pattern piece. Now I'm going to pin them in place, folding the dart in half and pinning through one dart leg and out the other. Doing this for both darts. Sew along the transferred lines from the outer edge to the point, leaving thread tails at each point to tie them in knots. And then press your darts up toward the armhole. Place your front and back pieces right sides together. Pin the side seams and the shoulder seams. Doing this to attach both of your back pieces to the front piece. Sew both shoulder seams and both side seams with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and finish the raw edges. For this dress, I'm using a 22-inch long invisible zipper. I'm going to open up the zipper and take it to my ironing board to press open those coils. For both of my center back edges, I've gone ahead and finished the raw edges using my serger. And now I'm ready to start attaching the invisible zipper. I'm going to place the right zipper tape right sides together with the right side of the back dress. I want my top zipper stop to be 3/8 of an inch away from the raw edge of the neckline. And I want my zipper teeth to be 3/4 of an inch away from the finished edge of the back. And I'll pin in place. Now using a zipper foot or an invisible zipper foot, I'm going to sew from the top of the zipper teeth as far as I can get to the bottom, placing the needle as close to the zipper teeth as possible. Now that the right side of the zipper is attached, I'm going to close the zipper, and I'll place the left side of the zipper tape right sides together with the left back dress. Having the zipper closed will help me to align the notches on either side of the back dress. Now that I've aligned the notches, I'll open up the zipper and continue pinning the left zipper tape in place, once again making sure that the top stop is 3/8 of an inch away from the neckline edge. Now I'm ready to sew this side of the zipper in place just as I did on the other side, sewing as close to the zipper teeth as possible and as far to the bottom edge as possible. Now both sides of my zipper are installed, and I'll close the zipper once again. And then we can finish sewing the back center seam, pinning from where our zipper stitching stopped to the bottom of the garment. And with my zipper foot still installed, I'm going to sew from where my zipper stitching stopped, back stitching to secure, and sewing with that 3/4 inch seam allowance to the bottom of the garment. Apply interfacing to the wrong side of each of your facing pieces, and then place them right sides together at the shoulder seams. And pin in place. Sew the shoulder seams with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and press the seams open. Now that the shoulder seams are sewn and pressed, finish your outer raw edges in your preferred method. I've chosen to finish the raw edges with my serger, and I'm also going to press those raw edges to the wrong side by 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Then I'm going to top stitch that folded edge in place all the way around the outer edge. Now I'm ready to start applying the facing to the neckline. With the zipper open and the zipper tape opened out flat, I'm going to align the center back edge of the facing with the finished back edge of the bodice and pin that vertical edge in place. For both back pieces, using the same 3/4 inch seam allowance that we used to install the zipper, we're going to use our zipper foot to stitch through the facing along those zipper teeth underneath, from the top of the facing to the bottom, back stitching at both ends to secure, and doing this for both sides. Now that the facing is attached to the center back, I'm going to fold those center back edges to the right side along the stitches that we just created, and start pinning the facing in place along the neckline, carefully matching the shoulder seams. Doing the same to fold that center back on both sides. Then we'll sew the facing to the neckline with a 3/8 inch seam allowance from center back to center back. Then we're going to understitch the facing. We're going to turn the facing away from the neckline and sew the seam allowance to the facing all the way around the neckline, about 1/8 inch away from the original stitching line. As you approach the center back corners, your presser foot won't allow you to understitch all the way to the center back, so just stitch as far as you can and backstitch to secure. Then we'll turn the facing to the inside and give the neckline a good press. And before I poke out the center back corners, I'm going to give them a trim. To further secure the facing to the inside of the garment, I'm going to stitch in the ditch at the shoulder seams on both sides from the outside of the garment, backstitching at both ends of the facing underneath. The hem allowance for the bottom of the sleeve is 1 inch. I've taken the sleeve to the ironing board and pressed the bottommost raw edge to the wrong side by 3/8 inch, and then pressed it once more to the wrong side by 5/8 inch. Now I'm going to open out those folds for now and fold the sleeve in half along those short edges, right sides together. Pin in place. I'll sew this seam with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and finish the raw edges. Now you can fold the hem along the pre-pressed lines and take it back to the sewing machine to edge stitch close to that inner fold all the way around. If you like, you can also choose to do a blind hem, folding the material right sides together along that uppermost fold so that 3/8 inch fold peeks over the top, and use the blind hem foot and your blind hem stitch to stitch in place. And repeating all of those steps to form and hem the opposite sleeve. The hem allowance for the very bottom of the dress is also 1 inch. I've gone ahead and pressed the raw edges to the wrong side just as I did for the bottoms of the sleeves, first pressing 3/8 inch and then pressing once again 5/8 inch. And then you can hem the bottom of the garment just as you did the bottom of the sleeves. To prepare for setting in the sleeves, take each sleeve to the sewing machine and sew basting stitches from notch to notch using the longest stitch on your machine and leaving thread tails on both ends so that you have threads to pull for easing. Now I'll place the sleeve right sides together with the bodice, matching the underarm seams, notches that indicate the shoulder seam, as well as the notches where we started and stopped our basting stitches that indicate front and back. Then pull your basting stitches so that the sleeve cap fits within the armhole, from notch to shoulder seam on both sides. Once it's eased, pin in place. Once it's pinned in place, sew the sleeve into the armhole with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and finish the raw edges. Repeat for both sleeves. Now the dress is complete. Thank you for watching this sew along. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss notifications every time a new full-length sewing tutorial comes out. And I'll see you in the next video.